Hey all, this is Adam with the Inkstain channel. The deeper I get into this Nightwish journey, the deeper the music gets. And also, the deeper the contribution of Marco is in terms of the work itself. And it's interesting because I recall initially it seemed like something different when Marco would sing. I didn't realize, I don't think, how integral his voice is to the overall sound of the music, how prevalent it is in the music itself, and what a loss it is that he has decided to resign. I've seen a lot of different rumors about who might come in to take over, and I hope a lot of our answers will be there, or a lot of our questions will be answered by the time we get to the virtual concerts in March. I mean, of course they will. We'll see what happens in March, but I'm just sort of chomping at the bit to know what that's going to be. Anyway, so this is probably, I may have said this with the last song, and I was probably wrong, but this is probably the first song that I had heard Marco sing on because I was initially introduced to this song when Taria was singing it. But we're going to explore this because this is, I may have referred to this before. This is sort of like the metal version of Jesse's Girl. What we're talking about here is I Wish I Had an Angel. And we're going to break it down and let's get into it. So I think what strikes me most here is just sort of even the way it starts, and we're going to jump into it, and you'll see what I mean. But back in the day, as you know, sort of a contemporary with Thomas, who, of course, was the writer composer of the piece in general. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I know that some of you, and I really appreciate it when you let me know who wrote the music, who wrote the lyrics, because when I look it up initially, usually I just sort of get a list of who was involved, and it usually encompasses the whole band, or sometimes Marco and Thomas, but it doesn't really break down who wrote what. So there was a thing, an era, we call it kind of the Jim Steinman era. Meatloaf, Jim Steinman. They were also involved with a musical called Streets of Fire, which had a lot of great music that came out of that. And it was a musical movie, and just sort of the way that this starts is reminiscent to me of that. If you're familiar with Streets of Fire, you may know what I'm talking about. So I'm just sort of talking about the way that this, the punchy way that this sort of begins at the beginning, and you'll see what I mean. I mean, so of course it just jumps right in there and it tells you what it's going to be about. Okay, so when we're looking at the lyrics initially, we're looking deep into a dying day. I took a step outside an innocent heart, prepared to hate me, fall when I may. This night will hurt you like never before. So I find myself wondering if this is specifically to a different person. I mentioned that this is sort of like a metal version of Jesse's Girl, because when we get to the chorus, that might become a little clearer. The idea of wanting your best friend's girl, and being jealous of the fact that your best friend is with somebody that you might desire. And let's go back. I mean, we can talk to the friar about this maybe, and go back biblically into coveting thy neighbor's wife. I don't know if it's necessarily a wife issue, but I don't know if this is an imaginary, sort of a notion, like having the notion to act upon that urge, or something that the poet, the narrator, is actually looking to consummate, something they're actually looking to physically do. I took out a step outside an innocent heart, prepare to hate me, fall when I may. This night will hurt you like never before. Is there maybe, as I approach this first verse, is there maybe, kind of a desire, not just to want what your friend has, but also, or your acquaintance has, but also to in a sense get back at them for even having it. And I'm not sure. It's something that's a little ambiguous here, but we'll get back in. Okay, so now we get into it. Oh, loves they die hard. Oh, lies they die harder. So, it kind of, I don't know. Did something maybe already happen, and it's been, lied about, or is it that lie of, no, I'm cool with it. Congratulations, my homeboy. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you for having this person or being with this person. When in reality you're just seething inside with jealousy over this person that your acquaintance or your friend is with. So loves they die hard. It's if you have feelings for someone, and they are with someone that is a friend or someone that it doesn't matter how much you may want to let that go. It's really hard to negate one's own feelings just because, they're unrequited. And old lies they die harder. I mean, it's even harder to lie about, positive feelings for someone who is with that person that you would like to be with. And this kind of, it tells it exactly as it is. I wish I had an angel for one moment of love. I wish I had your angel, your Virgin Mary undone. I'm in love with my lust, burning angel wings to dust. I wish I had your angel tonight. Now, there's a whole lot to sort of unpack with that. One of the things that I want to mention is, obviously there is this notion of putting the object of desire, and I say object not to depersonalize the object of affection, but only because I'm trying to remain sort of gender neutral. I'm fairly certain this would be about a woman, but I think the feelings that are expressed here are universal. They're universal feelings, and regardless, it's a condition of affection, not a gender specific one. But I wish I had an angel, obviously seeing that object of desire as an angelic figure or somehow something larger than human. For one moment of love, I wish I had your angel, your Virgin Mary undone. This idea that it's this pure figure, and which is no longer pure. Um, there is this sort of very sensual in romantic poetry. There tends to be this sort of very sensual idea behind the that maternal figure. If you want to look at, like, the maiden, the lady, the crone from mythology, and that maiden becoming that lady becomes like almost a maternal figure, and yet an object of sexual desire. This idea of sort of conquering the virginal, which is very deeply rooted in the psyche. Um, I'm in love with my lust, burning angel wings to dust. I wish I had your angel tonight. It's that. It's very epic. It's very epic and very there's a lot of sort of deep kind of epic imagery of falling. This iconic celestial thing that is falling. That lust is somehow a base instinct. And it's very sensual. We talk a lot in analyzing Gothic and Romantic poetry and fiction about this concept of, the angelic becoming the darkness of sensuality, and how that darkness is, in a sense, highly sexualized. We talk about that in the 1970s and 80s with this romanticism of the vampire, which previously had been a horrific figure and then becomes a figure of dark romance, and becomes a tragic figure. All of that is sort of mixed in psychologically with this idea of letting go, returning back to the primal and lustful, and how somehow that is not an elevated idea, but highly sensual. I mean, that's really drunken. Okay, so I'm going down so frail and cruel. Drunken disguise changes all of the rules. Is so I'm going down so frail and cruel. Drunken disguise changes all of the rules. It's almost like the people who drink and they use being drunk as an excuse for doing something that they know they shouldn't have done. It's like there's that, but there's also that idea of liquid courage, in a sense. That idea of, I need a couple of shots to loosen me up so I can do this thing that I might not have the nerve to do otherwise. So there's that aspect, but then there's that flip side, that idea of all the rules change when you got a bunch of people drinking. It's like somehow people are familiar. That's not the right word. Somehow people are forgiving of what happens when everybody is in some kind of altered state. As someone who doesn't drink much, that's not my history, but I recognize the phenomenon. And then we get old bugs, they die hard, old lives, they die harder again. Okay, before we get into this bridge, I do want to bring up something else. There is, amongst guys and perhaps amongst girls too. I couldn't say, but this Virgin Mary undone thing, this idea that somehow, if someone is holding on sort of to this sense of decorum or purity, there is a sense in a sense there is a sense in a sense of kind of domination in the idea that that person will let go and sort of let go of that tightly wound, tightly held thing and be wild for you as opposed to someone else. That idea that someone would put you and their lust for you and their desire for you ahead of this virginal idea. And that's something that's really kind of prevalent that led in terms of romantic poetry and romantic poetry as a concept or as a genre. This idea of letting go of the rigid and investing in the primal specifically because of emotion that's carried over for an individual person. And that can be a very intoxicating thing if you're on the receiving end of that. And I think there's an element of that he's talking about here. And when he goes into that whole what we have next, greatest thrill not to kill, but to have the prize of the night. Hypocrite, wannabe friend, 13th disciple who betrayed me for nothing. I think what he's talking about here, and we'll get there in the music in a moment, I think what he's talking about here is it's about possessing something, that having something within your power. And I think that's what that greatest thrill not to kill, but to have the prize of the night. It's to win that prize. What everybody wants is to get it without having to kill for it. It's a very, again, this invests into the very primal nature of the poetry of the song. But then we get into hypocrite, wannabe friend, 13th disciple who betrayed me for nothing. It's that whole putting the object of desire on a pedestal and then having that object of the desire sort of fall off that pedestal because you've built up so much into it that at the end, when you find out that everything you built into it is kind of your own creation, your own investment in the emotional context, which does not exist outside of your own mind and your own buildup. I think that's where he's talking about here. Then we get last dance, first kiss, your touch, my bliss, beauty always comes with dark thoughts. I think it's this whole thing, this whole idea of putting this object of desire on such a pedestal only to find out that's not really who they are. This idea that you have of somebody only to find out that they are so much less than what you built them up to be. And I don't mean that as a judgment, but just in terms of you've built this whole drama up over a scenario in your head only to find out that that scenario didn't really exist. And even musically, where this sort of little interlude comes in is perfectly timed with the idea here. You're just like, what up? Okay, I want to jump back on that lyric. I'm in love with my lust, burning angel wings to dust. I wish I had your angel tonight. To me, that's it, right? That's all of what we're talking about is encapsulated in that sort of the last two lines of the chorus. Being in love with the lust. You ever hear that phrase? A person that's in love with being in love. I think it's that being kind of, I was going to use another song lyric, but sort of being hooked on the feeling, being hooked on that feeling of lust, that drama, sort of being hooked on, I'm in love with my lust, burning angel wings to dust. It's this vision that lust encompasses. I wish I had your angel tonight. I really think that's a lot of what this is looking at the scenario in the context of, I'm in love with what I've built up, and what I've built up is so much greater than the reality of what is. And I think that's, what he's getting at here in this song. And we'll finish it out. Okay, so, I'm of course always interested in your thoughts. And again, another, highly, highly relatable song. Um, you know, Tomas is clearly, I mean, he's clearly a romantic, and he's clearly a romantic poet and a romantic writer, and that's not the same as our normal concept of, you know, what romance is. It's a certain style of poetry. So, you know, again, another highly relatable song, another fantastic performance, another example of just how integral Marco is to the whole ensemble and the whole vibe of Nightwish during this period. And I'm sure I'll say it 100 times more, but again, we wish him well, and he will be sorely missed. But at the same time, I'm really curious to see who steps in to fill, in a sense, that role in the context of the ensemble as a whole. As always, y'all, remember your words have power, so choose them wisely. Um, I've missed you all while I've been bogged down with other stuff. I hope you've been taking care of yourself. Take care of your mind, body, and spirit. It's so, so very important. And hit us up with a like and a subscribe. If you like what we do here, hit us up with a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you're aware of new videos that we may put out. Again, this is Adam with the Inkstand channel, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care.